Man, welcome back to the Cruise Dynasty podcast, where it's all about the fake stuff, but we win real money. Switching it up tonight. We're called the Cruise Dynasty podcast, but we do it all. Our main thing is dynasty and gambling. But redraft and best ball, I'm all about it too. Craft man, what's going on, man?
Hey, you talk about dynasty and gambling. I've been redraft for my entire life, and until I got into dynasty like 3 years ago, and fell in love with it. Best ball just keeps us degenerates happy in the off season. Just get in there. You know, you can do some small money drafts. You can do some big money drafts. You can just do whatever you want. And drafting is the best thing about fantasy football. So, we love it.
Yep, best ball. I mean, we've been setting up some best balls. Best balls 1 through 5. Me and the Craft Man and a bunch of people got together and we're doing some best ball. Obviously, underdog. If you love best ball like that, you get on underdog. I'm sure there's other. I think FFPCE does some best ball too. Never tried it out though.
Underdog. Big dog.
Yeah, underdog is where it's at if you want to do some best ball, and if you actually doing leagues and shit with people that you know, sleeper's where it's at. So we did some best ball on sleeper, some best ball on underdog, and basically draft these players. And each round, me and Craftman are gonna give you some players. I got a few players I want to talk about, and these are I don't know about Craftman, but these guys I got on my list are specifically players that I've done probably like 10 best balls, 10 or 11 best balls. These are specifically guys that I just can't stop drafting. I keep on clicking them, and we're going to talk about them.
Yeah, just getting that habit of these are the players you like, and you just keep hitting that button over and over again. There's been a couple times that I've done so many best balls where I'll actually, choose a different player. But if it was me trying to build my best lineup, these are the guys that I want, and these are the guys that we're going to give you tonight.
Yep. So basically, before we go on, 5-star review, add the podcast, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Hey, and if y'all want to play some best ball with us, let us know. We'll hop in. We'll make another best ball 6. Sign on up for it. We'll set it up. Basically, I've got players from about round 3 on. We could have went through the first 2 rounds, but me and Kraft could have said every name in the first 2 rounds, except for like a couple of them.
Well, before we do get to that, though, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I know you know your ADPs pretty well. We didn't do the first 2 rounds because it's so dependent on draft position. You can't get Christian McCaffrey if you're picking at the 10. You can't get Amon-Ra if you're picking at 12. So is there a pick in the first 2 rounds that you do not like, that you think is the worst pick in that round? These are all great players, but just is there a player that in the first 2 rounds that just one guy that you a little afraid of?
All right, so pretty much and I haven't come to this myself, but I've read it on Twitter a few times. People don't like picking from the 12 spot this year. Some people like to pick from the 12 spot and others. This year is not one of those years. I can't even sit here and say why. I guess you get stuck in that position where you got to pick between Puka, maybe
Marvin Harrison,
Marv. You get maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Some people not liking Jahmyr Gibbs in the first round. I don't know. That's what people say. I really can't say specifically, but crap, man, I've been doing best ball, and I would say up to at least from the 108, 101 through 108, you feel pretty good. Because at the 108, I'm getting Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson. Because in underdog, and we'll talk about this, in underdog, it's set up different than like those best balls we did in sleeper. In underdog, it is half PPR, but 3 wide receivers. One flex spot. So when you're doing all these best balls in underdog, it's wide receiver heavy. Wide receivers are getting pushed. And these first 3 or 4 rounds, I mean, they're all just flying off the board. So as long as
Yeah.
you're in that little 108 and below, I don't know where that sets you up for your round 2 pick,
Yeah.
but that's how I feel. I mean, even then though, I'm talking about if you get to the 109, AJ Brown, if you're getting up in that area, AJ Brown's, Jahmyr Gibbs, he would definitely be going in our little best balls stuff.
Yeah. But ours is 2 receiver, 2 flex. So it's a
Right,
little different. You can start 4 running backs if you want.
right.
Or 4 receivers. So, it evens it out a little bit. But like you said, underdog's half point. But shoot, my least favorite pick in the first 2 rounds, and it's a player this is the only player that I actually think doesn't belong in the first 2 rounds is Drake London, and
Oh,
that he's probably going. Let's see where he's going underdog. Where's he going right now, Matt?
and underdog is going as the wide receiver 10. His ADP is 14, so we're talking about top of the second.
Yeah, and I don't think he belongs in the whole entire second round. So I
Oh
mean, an
man,
underdog, I could see it with the receivers being gone, but for me personally, I haven't done my rankings yet, but I think Drake London belongs somewhere. If I were to do my rankings right now, I think he belongs around Brandon Ayuk and Devontae Smith and like Michael Pittman, that kind of area. Um, but that's just my preference. I wouldn't want to take Drake London at the top of the second round in underdog or in any of our drafts. So that's the one guy that I'm not in on at that price.
man, I'm glad
Right.
you bringing him up because I was gonna bring him up, Drake London. I was gonna bring him up today because when we was talking about, before we got on the best ball and redraft, and we were just, probably on some episodes with Swizzy talking some stuff, and I had said Drake London going way up there. Like I was saying, like in Dynasty, I like him for Dynasty just because his value's done risen. It doesn't matter. You already had him. His value's going up. And best ball and redraft, the dude's going real high. I got a confession to make, Crap Man. I'm sitting here looking at Drake London. I'm seeing where he's going, and I was saying I don't feel comfortable taking him at the top of the second. I'm seeing who he's going around, and I find myself being real comfortable taking him at the top of the second.
Really?
And, man, his upside is way higher than Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Brandon Ayuk, Nico
I don't think
Collins.
Marvin Harrison. I don't think Marvin Harrison there.
Maybe not Marv, and Marv's going ahead of Drake London at wide receiver 9, but Chris Olave, Ayuk, Nico, Devontae. You could
Yeah.
convince me Waddle. I could take Waddle over Drake London.
I will say this, and I've been thinking about it a little bit for redraft purposes. Is that so? Last year, at the end of the first round, top of the second, you had guys like CeeDee Lamb, Amon Ra, Garrett Wilson, and AJ Brown was going in the early second last year. And if you decided in redraft to go that route, you could have started off with Amon Ra, AJ Brown last season, and that would have been a lot better than starting off with the running backs that were going there last season, which was like Saquon and Josh Jacobs. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
wondering if, and it's the same kind of thing is, with Amon Ra, Garrett Wilson, players like that were in that area. It was players that haven't totally broke out yet, but we think it's about to happen, like CeeDee Lamb. So
yeah,
I don't know. I've been kind of back and forth with, like doubling down running backs when you're drafting at like the number 12 spot or whatever, like Gibbs and Taylor, or if
yeah.
it's just better to go with the guys who could break out, like Garrett
Hey,
Wilson again,
yeah.
and Marvin
I'm with you.
Harrison, and Drake London.
I'm with you. I wanted to speak a little bit to the strategy of some of this stuff because let me tell you how I've been doing best ball. Right, I think about best ball. Last year was my first year doing best ball, and there's obviously a difference between like um how do you name it when you're in there with 12 people, like a league, a regular league, and then all these
Yeah,
tournaments that they set you up in. You try to hop in. There's a little bit of a
yeah,
difference there, but like I've been doing some of these tournaments out there, and the goal really is to be like in the you got to beat like 99.99% of the people or something. Like, you know what I'm saying?
to
So
win $1 million.
basically,
Yeah,
yeah, if you want to
to
win,
even
so
be in the money, you got to be 6%.
right, so you got
6%
to
even.
be up there, and you can't like to me, you got to draft. a little bit different than what everybody's doing. So basically, an underdog, everybody's drafting wide receivers super high. So crap, man. Like I've been going running back a lot, and listen to these duos that I've been coming up: CMC, Devon A. Chain, Brees Hall, Jonathan Taylor. I even got one with Bijan and Saquon. I'm talking about like these are some duos that are like pretty stacked if they all pan out. Like
Yeah,
J JT. So basically, I'm just going against the grain on underdog. So let me slide over to what we did. Best balls 1 through 5 with the gang out there. Shout out to all y'all who's on there. Like Craftman had said, we got it set up there where it's 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, so running backs pushed way up. Running backs are just flying off the board in our which is to be expected. And knowing who I was playing with and knowing your league, I knew it was going to happen anyways. So my strategy of that one was, yo, I'm picking these wide receivers, and I'm gonna, we're doing a bunch of best balls with these guys, so I'm picking these wide receivers up high and smacking on the value, letting the running backs drop a little bit. So basically, my strategy is whatever's at the top, I'm just zigging while everybody's zagging. I just try to do a little bit different, just cause in best ball, I'm just trying to be different than everybody else. You know what I mean, Craft Man? Because if you're doing the same, then you're just gonna end up with everybody else, and then that one person
yeah,
who did it different or had that one random handcuff that hit real hard or something, or
yeah.
that quarterback who went off your 18th pick, like they'll be the winners. So you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. I agree totally because I do think that there might be a little overcorrection with the way best ball's being played. It hasn't been around like that long, so I think that people are starting to realize that wide receivers are kind of king in best ball because you get their best weeks, and an 80-yard. You can have a running back get 20 carries for 80 yards and touchdown, and it's great. In redraft, you want all that opportunity and everything, but all you need is the Jamison Williams or the Christian Watson or whatever, this guy to catch an 80-yard touchdown, and he's in your lineup for the week.
Right.
So I've been doing the same thing you have in best ball, where if you're drafting in the back, I think I like to take 2 running backs back to back, get because they keep falling. Go ahead and get your 2 running backs set up, and you can piece together that wide receiver room and still be as good as a lot of the other teams, but have a little more depth because they're going to be drafting running backs that might not put up them big numbers. So you can kind of piece it together and draft a little more heavy wide receiver than some other teams, even though you started off with 2 running backs. Because once you start off with 2, you can rattle off 5 receivers in a row if you want.
Yeah, and like what you're saying, some of these wide receivers, have that upside to get up there real high, even if you're not thinking or expecting it. Like I've got one line up, Craftman, where I go running back, running back. So I go Jonathan Taylor, or I go Brees Hall, Jonathan Taylor. So then my next 3 wide receivers are Michael Pittman, George Pickens, patching it up with guys like that who maybe viewed as like wide receiver twos, but
Yeah,
if Anthony Richardson gets it all rolling, Michael Pittman could go off, or Russell Wilson goes off. George Pickens is doing his thing, so
yeah.
it leaves you a little room to patch it up with guys that have some upside left to them.
Yeah, and you just kind of hope that when you're in these best ball settings in a big tournament, that your players kind of match up with any given week. Like if one of your players has a down week, maybe one of your later guys can pick it up that week and put up a big, a long touchdown or something like that, get you some points instead of relying on that consistency all the time, week in and week out from
Right.
receivers.
So basically, this episode right here, we're gonna tell you some players that we have been drafting on right here. Me and Kraft will probably still talk a bunch of strategy, so just deal with us if you want to hear that strategy talk. But Craftman, and I'm glad you brought up Drake London. That was one that I wanted to hit on that was up high. Um, I'll just go ahead and start it off real quick. Um, Third round in our sleeper. He's going in the second round ADP and underdog. I've been hitting on Jalen Waddle every time. I find myself when we were doing best balls and sleeper, I kept saying I'm diversifying at wide receiver. Jalen Waddle kept coming to me, and I was just like, I can't help it. I gotta click it. He was coming to me in the third, and to me, it's like Jalen Waddle has a finish at wide receiver 8. And I think last year just things just didn't click all the way, so he had a little bit of a drop off. And Dynasty, maybe a little bit of a buy low. Right now in underdog ADP, Jalen Waddle's going wide receiver 15. And he's going behind guys who I've already roasted on. Devontae Adams, I would take Waddle. Brandon Ayuk, I would take Waddle. Nico Collins, I would take Waddle. Olave, I would take Waddle. So to me, this is a guy right here that has that upside. He could get in that top 10. You could have him as your second. You could have him as your third wide receiver on some rosters that you drafted. But Jalen Waddle, what do you say, Kraft man?
Shoot, Jalen Waddle is a good best ball play because last year, like you said, a little bit of a down year, but the year before, he was still playing with Tyreek Hill 2 years ago when he finished as wide receiver 8, and he was almost at the very top of the league in yards per catch. And I just think Raheem Mostert with 20-something touchdowns last season, Devon Achane in that running game got going. I think you need to swing a little bit of that production from touchdowns back over to the receiver side. And I think Jalen Waddle has a little bit more potential of scoring more touchdowns than he did last season, too, because Raheem Mostert ain't rushing for 21 touchdowns again, or whatever it was. Like, Tua's passing touchdowns is going to come up again if, if that running game drops off just a little bit in the red zone, which I would be very surprised if it was that efficient in the red zone again. So get some of them big plays in there. Jalen Waddle, get him back to that 18 yards per catch that he was at 2 years ago. Jalen Waddle's been one of mine that I would really love to get in best ball, especially at that price. Said he was wide receiver.
Wide
Where was he?
receiver 15. So
Wide receiver.
basically, he's going behind all those guys that I just named off, and he's going in front of Debo, Mike Evans, and then you get to Devontae Smith. He's sitting right there in a pocket of people where he's like the only one of like 7 to 8 receivers that I really want.
And there's a lot of good receivers in that round, but
I feel like
that's just like your preference.
to me, it's like there's a lot of good dynasty assets, but when I think of a 1 year off, I think of some of these guys. You know me, I like Nico Collins. I think his ceiling's a little bit capped. That's not what I'm looking for in best ball. Ayuk, that's one that you could get me. That's the closest one. Like, he's just, I just don't know what to think about Ayuk and don't know what his situation. I mean, people still acting like he could be traded. I don't really think it's going to happen. I think they're going to run it back and try to win the Super Bowl with all their guys. But Ayuk's he's a little tough.
Yeah, and you still don't know. I think probably about 100% he's going to be back with San Fran this season. They still got him under contract. I mean, he can demand a trade all he wants, but he'll probably he's just going to have to live out his contract. And then they can still tag him next year if they wanted to. I mean, he don't really have that much leverage, so unless they get an offer, they can't refuse. But the guy that I like rounds 3 in sleeper and round 4 in underdog is my guy Isaiah Pacheco all day. His ADP, he's going as the running back 11 in underdog, going at ADP 44. So that's somewhere in the mid 4th round in underdog. And this is one running back that I think that has the potential to finish as a top 5 guy. I think the consistency is going to be there. He had 7 rushing touchdowns last year. I think that could easily come up. McKinnon's gone. You got Clyde there. And I do think they're going to get Clyde somewhat involved. They're not going to give it all to Pacheco. But it just seems like a can't miss right there in the 4th round. And if you follow that strategy, if you go ahead and go the opposite of the strategy we were talking about, I would not mind at all having Isaiah Pacheco as my RB1 in a best ball league and stacking up 3 receivers to start it up, and then having Pacheco as my 1. Because he's, like I said, he's at 11 right now in underdog. I would probably have him ranked about 7 or 8 in my guys.
So, like, last year I'm with you because last year you saw, pretty much Isaiah Pacheco in that back half of the year, really turned it up. The Kansas City started getting him involved in the passing game, and I mean, let me look. I'm gonna rattle him off right here because he won me a championship. So what you're saying is like is music to my ears. Like I'm high on Isaiah Pacheco too. Um, I got my guy Big Dunk been on the podcast, asking about Pacheco, and I'm just thinking in my head like, bro, it's gonna take a top running back if you want Isaiah Pacheco this year. I mean,
Yeah,
there's probably an argument if you're not 100% competing to sell high, you could probably get a good bit for some Isaiah Pacheco right now. But at the back half of this year, like 16 weeks, well, heck, I mean, he finished as the running back 15. He missed 2 games. I mean, he was in double digits a majority of the year. I mean, in week 16, he got you 10 points, but I mean, your championship week, he got you 29. But
yeah,
weeks 12, 25, 21, I mean, he's got games 24, double digits all over the place. Touchdowns. But at the beginning of the year, it's like rushing and touchdowns. And then in the back half of the year, 5 receptions, 4 receptions, 4 receptions, 7 receptions.
yeah. He's
Took
gonna get
her to the
involved in the
moon.
passing game a little more this year with
Yep.
McKinnon now.
And the truth is, if Pacheco goes this year where he doesn't have some kind of season ending injury, I think he'll be on Kansas City for years to come. I'm not saying they're gonna pay the bank and go all out on him. But he's a 7th round draft pick. You could lock him down for a reasonable amount.
Yeah,
So Pacheco dynasty wise is great, but for this year, yeah, to the moon. I mean, they're going for a three-peat.
yeah,
Hey, he was one guy, Kraft man, that I was saying, it's gonna come down between Waddle and Pacheco, and I was like, I'm gonna take Pacheco this time in the third, and never got to me. Never got to me. We got Kraft man and Noah Dick blow out there, just taking him in the second. So I never even had that choice. I would have taken Pacheco at least in one of them best balls. Damn it.
yeah. I'm that's the guy I'm gonna just die on the hill with Pacheco this season. He's gonna be ranked higher than most people have him. I just he's got the one of the highest floors you can get at the running back position. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Them bringing Xavier Worthy in and Hollywood Brown in and Rasheed Rice coming back, defenses are going to play that two deep safeties all game against them. Isaiah Pacheco is going to have the lightest boxes of any running back in the entire league, and he's very talented playing behind a good offensive line. And when they're playing them two deep safeties, that don't just matter that that don't just mean that he's gonna get lighter boxes, but it also means that the dump downs and the receiving work and the receptions will be there also. So I could see him getting, close to 50 receptions this season too with McKinnon gone. Clyde's got some pass game chops, but I think it's Pacheco's backfield to lose at this point.
Yep. Agreed. All right, I got another man. Did you want to add anything else?
No,
Pacheco.
that's the one I got. So in the fourth round in underdog, Isaiah
Yep.
Pacheco all day.
Kind of in that same range right there, and I think I think I was getting him in the 4th round. I'm gonna throw old George Pickens out there, Kraft man, and I feel like me and you, we've always had a few things to say about George Pickens because I don't know what it is about Pickens. It's like people love him so much where I'm like, golly, y'all need to relax, and then the next year they hate him so much where I'm like, yeah,
It's
okay,
the
everybody
opposite.
need to relax.
It was like the opposite last year. They hated him, and we were talking.
Yeah.
It wasn't now. Nobody will shut up about him, and we're like,
Yep.
what happened?
So right here, I got George Pickens going as wide receiver 28, and he's going behind T. Higgins. You know how I feel about T. Higgins. You can go either way. If you really thought T. Higgins was going to be good, I would take T. Higgins. But if you don't, all right, he's going ahead of Zay Flowers. I mean, Zay Flowers is going ahead of George Pickens.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman Jr., Tank Dell. I would take Tank Dell over him. But George Pickens, right in front of Amari Cooper, right in front of Christian Kirk. My thing is with George Pickens is I just think his upside, it's just got to be better with Russ. I mean, this dude's Russ. I'm not saying he's great or anything, but he was supporting Cortland Sutton last year, and Sutton was scoring some touchdowns, a lot of touchdowns. I just think it gives George Pickens, you know, it gives George Pickens a chance to make that happen this year. And going at wide receiver 28, this guy right here is the perfect one. He just fits in perfect with you're on underdog and you're going against the grain and you go running back, and then you go for a wide receiver. And as your wide receiver 2, if you can have George Pickens as your wide receiver 2, I feel totally comfortable rolling out there with that. You know what I mean, Kraft man?
Oh yeah, I'm all in on George Pickens this year. I want to get him in every draft I can. Shoot, last year he went for 1,140 yards and 5 touchdowns. Just to put that in perspective, the Pittsburgh Steelers threw for 13 passing touchdowns last season. As a team, Pickens had 5 of them, and he had massive. He had massive weeks. He had a week with 130 yards and a touchdown. He had a week with 195 yards and 2 touchdowns, 131 yards again. That's with Deontay Johnson being there. Them two, the 195-yard game and 131-yard game is both with Deontay Johnson still in the lineup. So
Right.
that wasn't when he was injured. And that was with Kenny Pickett and whoever else they had throwing the ball back there last year. I'm all in on Pickens because he's going to give you massive weeks, and I think the volume's going to come up this year. And 5 touchdowns, I think that number could go up too. Like you said, Cortland Sutton had like 10.
Yeah.
That was Russell Wilson at the helm.
Right.
Russell Wilson threw for, I don't have the number. I know it was somewhere around 24, 26 touchdowns last season. So you can go ahead and double that from what the Steelers did all year. And that'd be a good year from George Pickens. I think he can, like we said in Dynasty, I think this is one of the few guys that we could talk about next year as like being a top tier, receiver, jumping a couple tiers from where he's at right now. If he goes out there and really explodes. So I like that one a lot.
Making me want to go out there and trade for his ass.
I've already tried.
I might go send out a little offer, a little something, see what I could get done. All right, Crab Man, George Pickens, what you got for me?
All right, so in the 5th round in best ball right now, I am smacking on Mark Andrews and Dalton Kincaid. Mark Andrews, before he got injured last year, he was a tight end 3 in points per game, which is kind of where he stays the whole entire time when he's healthy. So if you don't have a problem with Mark Andrews and his health, if you can get that kind of production in the 5th round from a tight end, I just think that's going to be gold. He's going to be going around. So we were talking about the 5th round. If you put receivers into perspective and underdog, you can get Mark Andrews or you can get Terry McLaurin. You can get Marquise Brown or Keenan Allen. You can get these kind of receivers in that round. And just give me the chance of getting the overall tight end 1 in fantasy football over drafting my wide receiver 3 to 4 in underdog. And these tournament plays and everything, I just feel like you got to have. And this goes for other than best ball, redraft, everything.
Right.
I'm hitting on these tight ends this year, and it's really it could be any one of the tight ends that falls. If it's Trey McBride, it's Trey McBride, Andrews, Kincaid. I'm gonna draft him every time in the 5th round.
Yeah, dude, I'm pretty much with you. I've been talking about last 2 years. I went Mark Andrews up pretty high and got burned by it. So I've always kind of liked the idea of getting these tight ends. And while we've been doing these best balls, my main, I like to go in there and hit that Evan Ingram in the 7th. I think he's going in the 6th on sleeper for sure, somewhere in that 6th, 7th range.
Yeah,
Evan Ingram, Jake Ferg. Love me some Jake Ferg. I like to hit on them. But doing these last 2 best balls, switched it up. I went and got McBride. Basically it was like this. If I thought I could get one of those tight ends at a discount, I was going to take the tight end. And then if not, I was going to try to get the cheapest of those 5. I heard on a podcast they were saying their strategy was They're taking the cheapest of the 5, and it
I
seems
agree.
reasonable. I get it. After doing it, now I get it. I'm with it. So, I ended up getting McBride at a discount at one time, and I think one other time I took Dalton Kincaid. I think he might have been the last one, and when I look at my roster and I look at my team, I'm thinking, "Damn, my team looks a whole lot better with that nice tight end sitting right there," you know? And I
Yeah,
agree. You're talking about your wide receiver 3. I mean, or getting a good tight end, you might as well go get a good tight end. So I'm with it. So basically, when I approach redraft, and we'll probably talk about this 10 million times, man, I'm gonna definitely make it a point to try to get one of these 5 tight ends. And then if I don't, my backup plan is Evan Ingram, Jake Ferg, in that range right there.
yeah. I'm 100% with you. Njoku falls in that category for me. He's kind of like my last. Him and Ferguson, I kind of go back and forth with. I got Evan Ingram. I would want Evan Ingram above both of them, but you know, Ferguson, Njoku, and then after that is kind of like, just stream it and just pick some guys that you think is going to score some touchdowns. Get your Dalton Schultz and whatever after that. Pat Fryermuth. But I feel like it was a big tear break after them 5 tight ends.
Right.
We hadn't really seen this in a long time where we could say that 5 tight ends could finish as a number one. And I think you got to take advantage of that. Like this is the year to take advantage of that because it was always Kelsey and Andrews, and that was it.
Yeah, and another thing, Craft Man, though, some people are bullish on Kyle Pitts. So if you really think about it,
Yeah,
there's a top 6 for some people. I,
yeah,
I'm like I, I'm like top 5.5. Like I believe in Kyle Pitts probably more than a lot of the haters, but there's some people that are just like he's going to the moon. Like I don't know about that,
yeah.
but
I mean,
I wouldn't include him in I wouldn't say a top 6. I would say a top 5. But Kyle Pitts wouldn't be a nice
yeah,
one to slap on. See what happens, and especially best ball.
yeah. And best ball, his ADP is at 60 right now, so you're talking the end of the 5th round, and he's going around guys like Chris Godwin, Xavier Worthy, Calvin Ridley. So if you're really playing in them tournament plays, I would much rather just take a shot on maybe Kyle Pitts ends up being the tight end prospect that everybody's been waiting for 3 years.
Yep, which could happen. It's tied
And
in,
it definitely could happen.
so I
I
don't
probably
know.
It's probably not me, but
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm probably not gonna be
guy
drafting him.
that's a best ball play. I'll just draft George Kittle a little later because I know he has big weeks.
Right. All right, Craft Man. I got another one in that I'm gonna say 6th round area on ADP and 5th round on sleeper with our best ball. One that I've been smacking on every time on underdog every time, man. My running back rooms, Craft Man. I'm telling you, man, on underdog, my running back rooms are down.
I know who
I
you
get
about to say too.
I get Kenneth Walker in the 6, and I'm just thinking this right here is what I'm talking about. This is like he's the perfect running back too. If you could get that strategy where you could go running back first in the first round, and I'm speaking this is terms of underdog. Running back first, and then get your wide receivers, maybe your quarterback, your tight end, or whatever. We're talking 2 or 3. I don't know, man. Kenneth Walker as your running back 2 sounds pretty sweet to me. And a lot of best balls, I got him as my running back 3. Um,
In the
he's going,
6th round. Yeah.
yeah, he's going as RB 16 right now, and Kenneth
What's
Walker's
his
pretty good.
What's his ADP right now?
Kenneth
And
Walker's Kenneth Walker's ADP is going as RB 16, and it is 68. So he's going around there in that Rashi Rice, DeAndre Hopkins, Lad McHonkey. I know you love Lad McHonkey. Uh, Brian Thomas. But look at those names. Jordan Addison. Man, Kenneth
yeah,
Walker is like the easiest one to slap. Just throw him right on your team.
yeah, and this is what we were talking about, where I think there's an overcorrection with wide receivers. You said Kenneth Walker's RB 16, and I know it's not going to be linear for the wide receivers and underdog, but you're drafting the wide receiver 42 over the RB 16
Yeah.
and underdog if you're doing a draft, which I mean, like I said, I don't think it should be equally RB16 to wide receiver 16. It doesn't
Right.
work. But to go down to DeAndre Hopkins and pass up on Kenneth Walker, like you have to bring some sort of, you got to bring your brain a little bit to these drafts and say like,
Right.
who's going to score more points? Who's going to score? Who's going to be better in my lineup all season? And don't look at the roster construction quite as much because I think it's getting overblown a little bit with taking a Lad McConkey or somebody like that over, or Brian Thomas over Kenneth Walker, who I think still has tremendous upside. I mean,
I
the
mean,
touchdown upside is way up there. He could finish. He could finish as a top 5 guy in touchdowns.
right.
Rushing yards definitely there. He don't catch a lot of passes, but underdogs half point PPR. So
Yeah. And
that was our best ball leagues. That's
yep.
an easy hit. I drafted Kenneth Walker one time, I think, in ours, but running backs are going a little heavier. And I
Right.
think I got him in like the first pick of the 501. So you're getting him a whole almost 2 rounds later in
Right.
underdog, which is a
So
steal.
it's easy. Kenneth Walker's easy for me. What you got for me, Kraft man?
My boy, Cooper Kupp,
Yeah.
going in 4th round, 3rd round, and underdog. But he's going as a wide receiver 23. So very, very, very back end wide receiver 2 range. And I don't think Cooper Kupp's going to finish there. I think he's going to finish closer to a wide receiver 1 than he is a wide receiver 2. I think he's going to be, I'm hoping that he'll be somewhere around that wide receiver 17 range. But wide receiver 23 seems a little low for Cooper Kupp, you know, based on what he was doing at the end of the season last year when he was finally fully healthy. So last year, Cooper Kupp from weeks 11 to 17, he was a wide receiver 19. He had 2 games there where he was coming off injury at week 11 and 12. He scored 3 points, and he scored. Let me see if I find it. He scored 3 points, but after that, fully healthy, 12 points, 21 points, 21 points, 7 points, 10 points. So I think you still get the upside with Cooper Kupp. I still think he's the main red zone target for Matthew Stafford, and I just don't think he lost a step. I think he just started off the year with that hamstring injury in training camp, and it hampered him. Then he got hurt a little bit midway through the season. Matthew Stafford was hurt for a little while there. And then when they both got on the field together, in that last half of the season, Puka had 50 targets. Cooper Kupp had 49 targets. So
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp's going at wide receiver 23, and Puka's going at like wide receiver 8.
Yep. I mean, I'm loving it. Hey, you speaking some good stuff to me, Kraft man. Cooper Kupp and Checo. Man, I'm loving it. Yeah.
I do.
Cooper Kupp is somebody that I've been thinking about. I have gotten him a few times in best ball, different places. You know, I heard the footballers, they got Cooper Kupp ranked at 11. I was listening to Dynasty DNA. They got Cooper Kupp ranked as high as 8. And I'm just thinking, man, if these numbers right here are even like halfway true, man, I'm gonna be like a dynasty champ from here on, Kraft man. but
Yeah.
real talk, if he's really going up there, like if people are really thinking Cooper Kupp, well, I'll put it like this, Kraft man. When we do our rankings, I'm not putting Cooper Kupp as a wide receiver 1, but
Not
some people
wide
are.
receiver 23, though.
Say that again.
He can't be wide receiver 23, though.
Can't be right. Yeah, 100%. That's what I was about to say. I won't have him ranked that high, but he will definitely play up to his ADP. He will smash that. I think so. But
That's
he's gonna
floor for him.
be he's gonna be more up in that like I don't know, maybe in that 16 range to me, like
Yeah.
16 through 18, more than a top 12 guy, and that's
Yeah.
if he's even healthy.
Yeah. Going behind DJ Moore. He's going behind Malik Neighbors with Daniel
What?
Jones at quarterback.
Ridiculous.
I
Hold
don't.
on. Let's see what I got. Let's see where he's going at on underdog real quick before we move on. I want everybody to make
That,
sure.
yeah, that's where he's at. He's going at ADP 29 and
Yep.
underdog. You know,
Right.
their receiver prices are heavy, but when you look at just the receiver he's going at wide receiver, yeah, I guess it updated. It's at 22 now, not
Yep.
23. Stephon Diggs moved down one, but still, I think for going as a 22nd wide receiver off the board, I think he's definitely worth that pick and probably worth a little more than that pick.
To be honest, his
And you
upside
got
is
you got Debo going at wide receiver 18, and
right.
wide receiver 16.
He's got more upside than all these guys, if you think about it.
He really does.
So couldn't agree with you more. I like that one. Cooper Kupp getting him at a discount. I mean, this guy was going in the top 5 last year, man. This dude was going in the top 5 last year, and that was with him. Everybody knowing that he was a little banged up at camp and all that stuff. You were just taking a risk.
And just give me the percentages of. It seems like everybody's, and I love Puka. Think he's going to be great. I don't think he's going to flop this season. But I mean, what would you say? Would you be at all surprised if Cooper Kupp finished better than Puka Nacua this season?
I wouldn't be surprised, but if I was like a statistician, one of those guys, I don't think I'd stat it out that way. I still think Puka will lead the way, but I'm thinking we might should just. Nobody really talks about this, but what if Puka and Cooper Kupp is just like one of those great duos with Matthew Stafford, like these other duos we talk about, like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and
Yeah.
Jefferson and Addison, Waddle and Tyreek. Like, what if that's we got us a white boy duo out there doing a thing.
Well, and to go with that, I mean, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, they're kind of like a 1-2 punch, but they're
Right.
a clear 1-2. AJ Brown's 1, Devontae Smith's 2. These guys, I could say 1A, 1B. And I heard a statistic on, I think it was BDG today. Matthew Stafford missed 4 games last season. If he would have played, they statted him out for 17 games. If he'd played 17 games, he would have finished number 2 in passing yards for the season, right behind Tua. So you ain't got to worry about Matthew Stafford running that offense and if there's going to be enough passing yards to go around. Like I said, last year, Matthew Stafford was on pace to be number 2 in the league in passing yards. And that's all I got to say. I think Cooper Kupp's smash hit. Always. I've always loved Cooper Kupp, though. I always had a soft spot for Cooper Kupp.
I'm with you. Crap, man. I basically got a couple sleepers left, but then I got quarterbacks. Do you have
Yeah,
some more?
I got a couple quarterbacks, and we can get into sleepers a little bit. I got one running back that's going super late. But I'll go ahead and start with my first quarterback. And I hate to give away my secrets, but in redraft, if he's going in round 8, Dak Prescott will be my quarterback every single time. But unfortunately, I'm playing in a league with Levi, and he will draft him in the 5th round. So probably not going to get Dak. But as far as underdog goes,
I've seen that happen.
He is going in round number 8 in underdog.
Yeah.
He's going as a QB9. Dak Prescott was a QB3 last year. And he had 7 top 5 finishes at the position. And 6 of them came from week 8 on. So from week 8 to week 17, he had 6 top 5 finishes at quarterback. And he finishes QB3 on the season. QB9 seems like the absolute floor that you're going to get out of Dak Prescott. And I think he could finish right up there at QB3 again. Nothing has changed. Actually, some things have changed. The running backs have gotten worse. And from what they did from the bye week on last year showed you that they were going to be they were the high scoring offense last season, and they threw the most passes last season. So
yeah.
I don't know how much you could ask for with that. How much more you could ask for?
No disagreeing for me. I've already said it. We did our little startup and we went and got Dak, and I was saying then, this dude could lead the league in passes this year. I mean, or pass attempts is what I meant to say. He could lead the league in pass attempts this year. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. Dak, you guys are always been on it. Even if other people are hating, I've hated on Dak at times, but you and Levi, y'all have always been on it. Dak Prescott, so I'm with you.
Yeah, it seems like the perfect, if you want to go with Dak as your first quarterback, to go ahead and get him in the 8th or 9th round in underdog. That's just a no-brainer for me.
Well, shoot, Kraft, man, I got one that I'm going to say is a no-brainer, too.
I might have the same guy. You might be surprised.
You know, I would not even be doing I wouldn't even be doing my job as a Cruise Dynasty podcast host or whatever you want to call me, podcaster, if I didn't throw Kyler Murray's name out there, man. You know I gotta toss his name out there. Cause in underdog, you're getting him in the 7th round. Um in sleeper, I think I was getting him in the 6th. Is that correct, Crabman? Do you know any other times? I got him like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, it's usually been like the 6th or 7th round in this one.
So I'm getting Kyler Murray at QB7, taking him above Joe Burrow. That's the thing. Some people are taking like Joe Burrow ahead of Kyler and stuff like that. Um, Listen,
He is
man.
the QB7 and underdog.
Yep, QB7 and underdog. That's like my sweet spot. He's like I was thinking about this, but you know what? You kind of got me sold on Dak too a little bit. I'm just thinking about guys who just could finish quarterback one. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it's a tall task for Josh Allen doing his thing. But I'm just saying who could do that, and who's the cheapest one at to that point? And Kyler Murray is that guy, in my opinion. I mean Anthony Richardson's going as QB5. You know Jalen Hurts, Lamar. You know they up there. I mean you could the wild card one, Jaden Daniels. That's a little wild card one.
Yeah,
The
I got
Random
him. I got him on my list going as the QB17. I think it was.
and
No,
sleeper.
it's Justin Herbert.
I got Justin Herbert's name.
No, Jay Daniels going as QB11 and underdog. He's
11
going a lot later in sleeper. I know that for sure.
But I'll say this: him going at 11 and underdog is cheap if he ends up being this game breaking, winning tournaments and all
And
that crap.
underdog is 4-point passing touchdown too. So
Yeah.
it gives a little
So,
bit more incentive to the rushing quarterbacks.
well, look, crap, man. I ain't even gonna go on it. We're gonna go ahead and move on real quick. Kyler Murray, I've always said it. When it comes to fantasy football, I would take him like in Dynasty. I would take him like 4. Like I've got him ranked way higher than what everybody's got him in redraft and Dynasty right now. So I'm taking Kyler everywhere I can because that's just how I feel about it. Uh, Kyler's cheap to me, and I think he's good.
Yeah, he's going to finish as the top 10 QB easily. And like you said, he's one of them guys that can finish as number one. But you're going to like this. This is the guy I thought you were going to say. In sleeper, he's going as the QB17, and underdog, he's going as the QB14. Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I agree with you.
He was the QB. He had a bad year last year. He was the QB13, but the year before he was the QB8. And I don't think people realize how good he was in the second half of the year last year. From weeks 11 to 18 last year, he was outscored by Dak Prescott, who we just talked about, who was so great. He was outscored by Dak by 20 points, and Trevor Lawrence missed a week during that time. So Trevor Lawrence was just as hot as Dak Prescott was at the end of last year. And even with that terrible start, still finished QB13. So he's going to be most likely your second quarterback in best ball drafts. And if you want to wait and make him your QB1 and then stack up some other guys later like Baker and Matthew Stafford and stuff like that, then that's a good deal too. But I just think he's a little underrated at this point. And I've never been the biggest Trevor Lawrence guy, but
I know, man. I wish Swizzy was here for this moment. I mean, I'm with you. I've always said it's not as doom and gloom as what everybody thinks it is. I mean, it even to the point where it's kind of got me wanting some Brian Thomas Jr. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
um,
I've been
I
hitting
don't
on
know.
that a little bit in
You
best
know,
ball.
it is what it is. You know how I feel about Trevor Lawrence. Like I've always said, when it comes to real football, I feel like he's just a little too nice. But when it comes to fantasy football, I just for real believe that this dude could put together seasons that are gonna go off. He's the thing is he's in Jacksonville. It's gonna take a little bit longer. I mean, maybe it turns around this year. You know what I'm saying? And I agree 100% with you. I got him at quarterback 14 here on Underdog, and
Yeah,
he's
and
went
I still
up.
think he's getting drafted at his floor right there.
Right. This has really went up because he was at 17, or nah, maybe he was probably
He's
staying
at,
because Herbert's at 17.
yeah, he was at 17 in sleeper when we were doing our best ball. He was on down there a little bit, and I don't know if I ever was able to get him, but I seen that. I seen that ranking and was just pretty much like, I need to get this guy, but you know,
Yep.
everybody was kind of in on him, which they should be because he's going to have big weeks. And then weeks that I mentioned last year where he was almost as good as Dak Prescott, that was without Christian Kirk at the end of the season. So
Right.
I think it could get better.
I look at these prices right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and transition because I got Justin Herbert on my list as QB 17. I pretty much gotten Justin Herbert a few times as my second quarterback. I got a lot of teams I bet have Kyler and Justin Herbert. Uh, but with that said, I all of these people down here like Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Goff, Herbert, all these quarterbacks down here in this area right here, I feel pretty good. I mean, I feel pretty good with it in best. I don't know. I mean, just look at these names down here, crap man. Tua at quarterback 15. I
Yeah, but you
mean,
got to look at the names above them, and then you have to kind of ask yourself if they are better than those guys.
Stafford at 19. I mean, sheesh.
I'm hitting Stafford every time. I've got him. He's my
I
second
mean,
quarterback in every single best ball I got, pretty much.
there's only a few. Like, I don't like Caleb Williams. Like, I wouldn't draft him at 12.
Nah,
That's not
nah,
something I would be interested.
really can't.
Joe Burrow, you could miss me with, I know you like Joe Burrow. You can miss me with Joe Burrow a little bit. Uh, at the 8. I don't know. That's probably right where Joe Burrow needs to be, man. I think he might be more appropriately priced than ever before, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little low in Dynasty. Didn't he go into 2-1 in that one startup? So a little low in Dynasty, but maybe
Yeah,
appropriate right here. Um, I don't really have much to say about Justin Herbert except for I feel like his ceiling is kind of high for that price, and he will outplay his ADP.
he'll probably outplay his ADP, but he's not really a best ball type. He's not one of them guys that you think can just shoot up and be like a top 5, maybe even a top 10 guy just based on the weapons he has. I mean, I wouldn't even be that concerned, or what am I trying to say? If they would have just brought in the offensive coordinator and brought in Jim Harbaugh as the head coach, I wouldn't even be as concerned. But the fact that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are gone is more of the concern than the scheme that they're going to be running.
Probably
Because
gonna
it's
be
the
running the
NFL.
ball a little more.
Just, I mean, Jim Harbaugh's a smart coach. He knows he has a top tier quarterback. So I don't think they're going to. And look at their running back room. I don't think they're going to run. They're going to try to run, but I don't think they're going to be like at the very bottom of the league in pass attempts like everybody's projected them to be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's my second quarterback. I like it. People have been drafting him in the top 5 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So here we are. But heck, I wouldn't mind taking Tua though, and I heck that whole list. I mean, even Brock Purdy's at 13. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
convince me on any quarterback, man. Makes me just want to wait on quarterback all the time. I won't freak out if I don't get my number one choice, and I don't pick the first 5 ever. So
Yeah. Because it's wild. I mean, from last season, I mean, you had Jordan Love finish as a QB4, and you had Brock Purdy finish as a QB6, and them guys were getting drafted super late last year. So
right,
if you hit on a couple guys like that this season, then you're looking great, especially in them tournament plays. Because
all
if you draft Josh Allen in the second round and he finishes QB1, like that's awesome. That's what you wanted, but it's not really winning you. You're drafting them at ADP.
yeah.
Drafting him at QB1 and he's a finish as QB1.
I'm with you, Craft Man. All right, Craft Man. I'm gonna start throwing out some sleepers for me. You got some obvious names though before we start digging.
Yeah, I got Zach Moss going in round 9 as the
Yes,
RB
sir.
30. Um, RB 30 seems just like a little disrespectful for how much the Bengals are going to score. So I really think it's just between. Do you think it's Zach Moss or do you think Chase Brown's going to eat into it a little bit? But a lot of stuff I've heard from Zach Moss is he was one of the most effective running backs running out of shotgun last year, which that's what the Bengals do. He was very, very good at pass protection, which if I'm the Bengals, number one priority is to finally keep Joe Burrow healthy for the first time in 3 years or whatever it is. So I think Zach Moss is going to be on the field a lot, and I think Chase Brown's going to, he might be like a 2-minute drill, 4-minute something. Throw him out there and get him out in space, and give Zach Moss a breather. But I'm about 100% on the Zach Moss side of that backfield at this point.
Hey man, I've been trying to get Zach Moss in multiple leagues. Yep, I'm with you. I mean, I've heard all the jibber jabber, read all the jibber jabber about the shotgun and the yada yada, and heck, I'm pretty much, this is what gets me is I didn't think Joe Mixon. You know me, I've been doubting him. I don't even think he's good. We just yelled about it, yelled back and forth about it all last summer, and heck, he's having where did he finish last year, Craftman? He had a good year last year. What was it? Do you remember? It was in the top 10, wasn't it?
Yeah, Joe Mixon was RB5 or 6.
Oh, I mean, I doubted him last year and the year before. I just think Zach Moss, shoot, he might come in here and fit it a little bit better. To me, it feels like he might kind of fit what they do a little bit better. So it's just like, I don't think Zach Moss is like all that great, but I mean, you know how it is, opportunity. This year with Zach Moss is how I feel, and you said it on the phone. You kind of you didn't like compare him, but like last year when I was like a Miles Sanders, this is like this year's version of that right here. Like I think, here we go. This dude Zach Moss might go off. It might be pretty good. So
yeah,
you know.
And I've actually came up with some Zach Moss stuff when I was looking at Jonathan Taylor, and I was thinking to myself, like, is Jonathan Taylor going to be that great with Anthony Richardson at the helm, stealing all the touchdowns? But last season, Zach Moss with Anthony Richardson at quarterback running out of shotgun, starting in week 2 because he didn't play in week 1. Zach Moss had 18 points, 21 points, 9 points, 32 points, and 14 points. So that's it's a small sample size. It's like 6-week sample size, but you get him on a high-powered offense, I think, because Joe Mixon wasn't really the best back in the world. So, I mean, if you can get an RB15 out of Zach Moss, I think that's going to be great. Going as RB30.
Craftman, he's going on underdog as the RB27. I just don't even know where to start on where I would take him. I mean, there's a whole slew of guys I would take him over.
ADP is 92, so that's, right there in the 8th, 9th round.
It makes me think going into redraft this year, I might be too high on this man or something, because I would take Zach Moss up. I might would put him right there behind, up in that David Montgomery range, right there. David Montgomery, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara.
Man, I wouldn't do Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara's a little higher, but
I was about to say that he's mispriced right there, Craftman. Because I would not do Alvin Kamara, but I would definitely put Zach. I would definitely put Moss ahead of Aaron Jones.
I don't know. That's pretty close. That's pretty close to me, but
so it's in that range. Got to be in that range.
Yeah, it's in that range. And if you really wanted to go 0 RB this year and redraft, I mean, it's risky, but your 3 running backs could be Raheem Mostert, Zamir White, and Zach Moss this season.
Hey, dang, hey.
You could do something like that if you really want to go all out with it.
Ooh, that'd be nice. That'd be sick.
And I could see all 3 of them guys being good.
Yep. So I'm with you on Moss. I think it's funny we call that an obvious one. I mean, it's kind of an obvious one.
I'm kind of worried that his ADP is going to rise like.
Oh, it'll be way up
before redraft starts. But in best ball right now, I think it's a chance to get a potential RB2 on your team going outside of that.
Right. Well, as these ADPs shift, we'll drop it. We'll do another best ball episode here in a couple months or so. We'll see what's changed.
I mean, Tony Pollard or Zach Moss?
Zach Moss. That's not even close to me.
Yeah,
I can't even believe that's even a decision. I mean,
DeAndre Swift or Zach Moss?
Zach Moss for me.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too. We might just be totally wrong on this one. This might be, your Ramondre take last year.
Could be
But
my Miles Sanders take though, for real.
yeah,
Could
or Alexander Madison take or what? You
yeah.
were high on Madison, but
I
Ian
was
Alexander
super
Madison
high on.
last year.
Alright, crap, man, I got these are I'm gonna go ahead and toss some sleepers out there, some deep ones that I've been rolling around with. And one, this just wasn't even intentional. This was just from doing best ball. I'm and So the first name I'm gonna drop is Jalen Polk, and he got drafted. What was he? Drafted in the second round this year, and
Yeah,
uh, and listen, this ain't me sitting here banging my hand on the table talking about, man, Jalen Polk, go get you some Jalen Polk this and Jalen Polk that. Like, I'm just recognize what I'm saying here. We're talking best ball here. Jalen Polk, an underdog, is going as the wide receiver 66.
yeah,
And there's not exactly a number one guy in New England. And what if just by chance or Jacoby Brissett likes Jalen Polk and he's the number one guy? You get a number one wide receiver for the New England Patriots. I mean, no matter what they are, and hear me out. Here's the names he's going with: Xavier Leggett, Ricky Pearsall, okay, Darnell Mooney, QJ Burton, Douglas. I mean, Jalen Polk.
I,
It's just a
yeah.
pure
I
upside
like.
thing.
See, I like Douglas. I, I'm I'm higher
Oh,
on Douglas.
Pop.
Yeah, I like Douglas the most, but that's not saying much. But I agree
Right,
with you. I agree with the strategy of what if the Patriots are just better? What if Drake May is good?
right.
What if Jacoby Brissett comes in there? He ain't gonna like light it up or nothing. But what if he gives you a Gardner Minshew type season, like last year? He supported Michael Pittman as a high end wide receiver one. Like what if it's just based on where they're going?
Right.
Like, you're not spending anything, and
Yeah.
you you might gonna have the number one guy for a decent team. They might not even be that bad.
Yeah. So I mean, that's all I can really say. I mean, it just there's just could be a large target share for him. So
Yeah.
there you go. Just chasing pure upside. That's all I can do. I mean, he's going down here with Jahan Dotson. Like, I like Jahan Dotson more as a football player, and it feels like on a dynasty team, I'd rather have Jahan Dotson. But I'm playing best ball today, Jalen Polk. I
I
don't
mean,
know if now that I say it out loud though, I might would rather have Polk in a dynasty than.
yeah, that's what I was
Uh,
thinking.
yep.
John Dotson really got to show something this year. But one of my sleepers I've been getting about every single time is Rashid Shaheed. He's going wide receiver 52 and underdog wide receiver 58 in sleeper. Rashid Shaheed was wide receiver 42 last season, which, I mean, it ain't much, but it's 12 spots above where he's going right now. And that was with Michael Thomas there. That was with the extra competition. I think he's the number two receiving option on that offense this season. And they brought in a new offensive coordinator. They're not going to be as plain Jane as they were last season. I think they're going to put him in motion a lot, pre-snap motion, and get him in space. And I think that Rashid Shaheed is going to have some big games, especially for best ball. So, I'm for drafting him in the 12th round. He's going around guys like Joshua Palmer, Tyler Lockett, A.D. Mitchell, Khalil Shakir. And there's a lot of guys that I like in that range too. But I think for best ball play, I think he's the biggest deep threat in that area. Where I just think, I mean, when you look at where he went last year, where he finished last year to where he's going this year, plus less competition, it just makes sense to me that he's going to finish higher than that.
Yep. I don't disagree with anything you say. I mean, I've been kind of faced with that decision a couple times. Rashid Shaheed and Romeo Dobbs is down there. I like to take dives.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I don't even disagree with nothing you say. I'm with you 100%. Might as well
yeah,
take the deep. I mean, the names he's going around on underdog: Tyler Lockett, Joshua Palmer, Dobbs, Khalil Shakir, A.D. Mitchell. If you believe in that, maybe that might offer a little more upside. Maybe I don't know.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said.
You got a couple more? You got any
I,
more sleep?
last one is the last one I got. This will be number 7. Um, and this is going to really be more of like just a philosophy, not philosophy, but what you should be doing. Grab you some of them running backs that ain't nobody really even thinking about. You know what I'm saying? One guy I got right here, Jalen Wright. He's been going RB 47. He's got day 2 draft capital. He's gonna go down there with Miami. We're playing best ball here. That offense, looking kind of explosive every now and then. I know me and Jimmy on best balls. Me and Jimmy went back and forth drafting them,
I haven't got
sniping
him
each
yet.
other.
I haven't got him anywhere.
So he's just one guy that I just pick him up, go ahead and grab him because there's some names out there that people are all talking about, like Marshawn Lloyd. I feel like I hear that name a lot. Trey Benson, I hear it a lot,
Yeah.
which is a good one. Now, I'm not saying don't go draft them because I would definitely draft those guys, and I
Yeah.
have. Uh, Jalen Wright's a little bit deeper, running back 47. I mean, there's definitely potential
Yeah.
for big get weeks on a week to week basis. Devon Ain't Small, Mostert, he used to get hurt all
Injury.
the time. He's a little old.
They
So,
both strong.
you know, it is what it is.
Yep. And I got the guy right behind him in ADP, Jaleel McLaughlin, going as a RB 48.
Yep.
I really wouldn't be surprised if he was a starting running back for the Broncos to start the season.
Right.
I mean, we've talked about that whole, committee, what it could be with Estime and McLaughlin and Javante. And I don't think Jaleel McLaughlin is kind of the one running back in that whole room where I think is he's going to be involved whatever committee it is. And I just think he's a good player, and I think Sean Payton's going to play the best player. So I would take the chance at RB 48 on McLaughlin, and he could be, he could be the Jalen Warren. Jalen Warren's going at what, RB 24?
Yeah.
He could put up the same kind of production as Jalen Warren does this season. I could easily see that.
I'm just caught staring at these ADPs, man. Every time I look at them, I'm just like, It's
and
funny. You could just look at this stuff and just keep on looking at it.
yeah. And there's a couple like handcuffs that I like to get too, like the real cheap ones. I've been drafting Ty Chandler a lot because I think he might have standalone value, and I think that he's a good cheap handcuff. I like shit. You're gonna hate me. I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Damian Pierce for like the cheapest,
Yeah.
of cheapest. But you look at Kansas City's backfield as much as I like Pacheco. The Kansas
Yeah.
City's had running backs come through there and put up massive fantasy points where you never even, you never even heard of them.
Yep.
To the footballers earlier today, they listed off Damian Williams, Darrell Williams, like
Yeah.
Derek Gore. Like these guys have been relevant before, and there's nobody behind. As much as you hate Clyde, there's nobody behind him after Pacheco. And same thing with Damian Pierce. It's Joe Mixon, and there's Damian Pierce. If Mixon goes down, Pierce is most likely going to be, a workhorse on the team. There's definitely more high end handcuffs out there like Charbonnet and Trey Benson, guys like that. But if you're talking cheapest of the cheap, those are the guys.
Yeah. Just a round 18 dart throw. I like to put it on Justin Fields. Uh, what's another 18? Oh, if I've got Drake London on my team, I like to go ahead and draft Penix with that 18th one. Just something random, something out there. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
Will motherfucking Levis
Will Levis. That's a good one.
going into
That is,
15th round.
yeah, that is a good one. I think I only got one share of Will Levis. Toss us some more, Kraft man. Any more?
I mean,
Bottom.
that was it. That was it for me.
Yep.
I think we named all the players that we liked. I love. I mean, I guess I do have a couple more. I love QJ and Joshua Palmer. Like I can't get enough drafting one of them two guys. Every single best ball draft I'm in, they're just going so late. They're going in like the 13th round, and you got Justin Herbert at quarterback. I mean, really good things could happen with them guys.
Man, that sounds like a best ball episode right there, Craft Man.
And Jermaine Burton.
Jermaine Burton.
Like,
Dontavian Wicks.
yeah, yeah.
That was an obvious one. Everybody been saying that one.
Everybody's high on Dontavian Wicks.
It's true though. He falls to you a lot. I mean, I've had so many times where I could draft him. It always happens.
It's just, the thing with him is like the talent might be there, but how is he going to get on the field consistently? And that's the only problem. But I mean, all it takes is for one of the Packers receivers to go down, and he's almost a full-time player. If Watson goes down or Dobbs goes down, he's definitely a full-time player.
Colby Parkinson.
Colby Parkinson, Mike Gesicki,
Yep.
Noah Fant.
Yep, that's a good one. So there you go.
Bellinger.
We just threw out like a bunch of names.
Pick for your second tight end or third tight end in best ball. Go ahead and snag one of them guys.
Well, shoot. I guess that about wraps it on up, Craft Man. We done best balled it out. We done named about 45 names.
We did a good amount of sleepers, but hopefully everybody, just pick the players we told you to pick, and you'd be good. Yeah. Everything would be fine.
Yep, man. I just keep on looking at all these ADPs, man. It's just crazy. I mean,
you can find some,
on them.
You find some diamonds out there for sure.
Well, shoot, man. That about wraps it on up. Thanks for listening to the podcast on Best Ball for Your Ass. Craft Man, anything to say to our people out there?
Same old thing. Just appreciate everybody for listening to us, and tell your friends, and tell your friends to tell some other friends, and hit us up.
Get on that best ball with us.
Yeah, come talk some best ball with us. Come talk some dynasty with us. Just talk football with us.
So, I guess that about wraps it up. 5-star review, add the podcast, but we out.
Peace.